From Cornwall to Birmingham and Johnston and Bexhill, here's Ruben Spire on the radio.
Hello to Preston D Barnes. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Nice to chat to you again. So briefly, can you tell me, what was it like leaving the army to go to be a singer-songwriter? What was that like?
Oh, very daunting. You leave the forces after 22, 23 years or whatever it is I did, however long I did. And I was in charge of quite a few people at that stage, a lot of authority and a lot of responsibility. And then you leave the forces and wake up the day after with absolutely none of all of that. So it was a huge culture shock for me, I have to say, and it took me quite a while to get used to it. Where you've kind of got to fend for yourself, really. I'm not saying that you don't fend for yourself in the forces, of course you do, but it's in a very different way. You're kind of institutionalized, I think, really, when you're in the forces. So when you come out, you've got to get used to this whole strange life of what people do in civilian world,
Yeah.
And everything's very different. The way that people manage people is different. The way, people being late for things, and it's normal to be late. All that type of stuff. It's kind of, yeah, it's quite shocking actually. It took me about 2 years maybe to get used to it, I suppose.
So, what was it like going into the recording studio, recording back your debut single called "Add a Little You"? What was that like?
Oh yeah, amazing. I've been in recording studios before when I was recording with Status Quo a long time ago. So I kind of had a similar kind of experience with them guys. But when you're doing something like that you're releasing that nobody's ever heard of before, it's really daunting actually, because you don't know how that music's going to go when it comes out. You don't know if people are going to like it or they're going to relate to it. And I've always said that if I'm going to do this, I need to kind of release music that people are relating to. So Add a Little You really was more about kind of, getting the kind of style right of what type of country we're going to do, and then getting a message across that actually I'm just kind of a happy-go-lucky type of guy, really. Same as everybody else is.
So it must have been quite good working alongside Status Quo in his recording studio when he was with them.
Yeah, so they released a song in 1983, I think, and it was called "In the Army Now." It was a huge hit for them. I think they actually played it on Live Aid a long time, around about that time when they released it, and it was a massive hit all over the world for them. And then they re-released it for Help for Heroes in 2010. So they got hold of some military guys that kind of could possibly sing, maybe just a little bit. And my name was mentioned, so we went down to the studio in London, recorded the song, recorded the song with them guys, and we actually got to meet them and spend all day with them in the green room, and we had a really good laugh actually, really down to earth guys. And then we did Radio 2 live at the Hippodrome Theatre in London with Terry Wogan, of all people. And then we went live on TV on Alan Titchmarsh's show on Channel 4. It was kind of a bit of a whirlwind experience, really. When you've never done it before, that was kind of the injection into how things are done. So it gave me kind of a bit of a springboard, really, I suppose, to find out what it was all about. And then, of course, I went on to do The Voice, didn't I? Which, again, was a similar kind of experience with the TV cameras and the pressure and the public opinions and everything else. So I think I had quite a good apprenticeship, shall we say, into music before I actually did Add a Little You to start with. So not a bad thing to go through, I don't think.
No. So, going to move on. So, can you tell me more about Castles on the Quicksand?
Yeah, Castles on Quicksand was given to us by a British songwriter, actually, who used to write a lot for the Hollies years and years and years ago. And he wrote a rock song. Now, this song was originally a rock song in the 80s. And it was played on a TV show called California Dreams. Now, that was a kind of a spin-off show to some of the other American sitcoms like Saved by the Bell, for instance. And when he wrote this song, he wrote to the TV producers and said, look, my song's available. If you guys want to play this on your show, then feel free. And they picked the song up and said, yes, we'll do it. And the show was about a bunch of teenagers at college that formed a rock group. And they just played live music on this TV show, and everybody loved it in America. It was a big hit. And then years later, this guy heard my voice from Add a Little You, actually, and said, I'd love you to release one of my songs if you would, but we'd like you to change it to country. So you're going from a rock song to country. And we said, yeah, we'll have a go. Let's see what we can do with it. So we went in the studio, we did a bit of producing on it, got the guitar players in, the drummers and everything else. And we produced this country version of an 80s rock song. Sent it back to the songwriter, and he absolutely loved it. So weirdly enough, when we released that song, we got hold of the California Dreams TV cast. And we said to them, listen, we're releasing one of your songs. And the songwriter's called Paul Bliss. He's agreed to it. So can you guys promote it? Now, we didn't know this, but at exactly the same time as we were releasing Castles on Quicksand, they were in the middle of creating a 30-year anniversary for the show. And we didn't know that. So on the day of release was exactly 30 years to when them guys sang it on the TV show 30 years ago. So that's Castles on Quicksand. I mean, you couldn't get any more kind of perfect, really.
So, can you tell me more about Send It My Way?
Send It My Way, again, we was in touch with a Canadian songwriter, and we sent over a few ideas, and she sent a few ideas back to us. And again, I wanted to stay with that kind of rock theme, but country. So we're kind of heading down the country rock theme at this point, which I quite like because I was brought up on rock music. And anyway, we sent over some ideas. She sent them back, and we carried on doing that for a few months, really. And then we came up with this idea and the words and the story behind it, and it's kind of looking back in the past, really. And when you look back on the single cover has huge white lettering, says "Way Back When" on it. And if you look right at the bottom left-hand corner of that, of the lettering where it says the word "when," you'll see my granddad in a little silhouette stood outside his garage in Nelson in Lancashire in about 1956. And so it was kind of a story for him, really, which is why we did that song.
So, can you tell me about the single released, first single released this year called "Looking for Love"?
Well, I mean, Looking for Love, we started to be in touch with some serious songwriters at this point, and we got chatting to a guy called Steve Dorff over in America, and he's a Grammy award-winning songwriter. He's in the Songwriter Hall of Fame. He's written for Garth Brooks, Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, Rascal Flatts. He wrote the Rocky IV theme tune. And he got in touch with us and said, listen, I've got a song here. Really love your voice. Do you fancy releasing it in the UK? And we said, yeah, of course, we'd love to, you know. But we had to reproduce that song from the demo that he sent us. And it actually turned out that his late son, Andrew Dorff, who sadly passed when he was 40 years old, unexpectedly, he was also a prolific songwriter in America. And he's got a huge back catalogue of songs that he's never released. So Steve, his dad, said, look, you know, my son has had #1 hits all over America, so we'd love you to try and get a bit of his music over to the UK. So that's where that song come from. And we went to visit Steve in Nashville last year at his house. And we saw all the platinum and gold and silver discs on the wall and Grammy Award trophies everywhere. It was just mind-blowing, really.
So, can you tell me more about your latest single called Too Good for Too Long?
Yeah, so Too Good for Too Long, when we was in Nashville last year, 2003, I met a girl over there called Lena Stone, and she's an artist in her own right, a country artist. But she kind of got moved over towards management, and so she stopped doing the artist thing herself now, and she's now a manager stroke PR agent. And we met up with her on Music Row in Nashville, and we got on really well, and we did a few music videos over there for Send It My Way and a duet that I did with a Nashville singer called Mariah Dombey. And we all got chatting and said, look, you know, we'd really like to do a bit of work with you in the future, you know, not just now, but a little bit further down the line. So Lena Stone, Chris Raffetto and Alex Smith are all songwriters for Sony Music in America. And coincidentally, they sent us over a few songs that they thought might kind of fit my voice, really. And they sent Too Good for Too Long over, and we kind of sent a few ideas back, and they did the same thing. And all three songwriters loved our kind of British take on it. So it all got agreed through Sony Music and BMI Music over there. It's quite a kind of a big deal, really. And here we are. We're ready for release on Friday, and a lot of people that have heard it, you know, privately so far, family members, etc., have said that this is probably the best one yet. So we will see.
So, can you tell me, have you got any upcoming gigs coming up in the near future?
Have I got any what? Sorry.
Upcoming gigs they want to promote?
Yeah, upcoming gigs. I've got quite a few, to be fair. I've got one on the 8th of March in Essex, and that's at the Castlemaine pub in Essex. That's a full band gig. We're going to rock the house that night, and hopefully you can come down to that. Ruben, I think you're probably going to be there. That'd be quite cool. But before that, we're headlining Little Nashville in Chiswick, which is a brand new venue. It's a little bit like Buck and Bull. We're headlining that this Friday night. Tickets are available for that on my website. We then go to the 8th of March, which I've just mentioned, in Essex. And then I've got quite a few festivals. I've got Lawn and Lakes Festival, which is over near Norfolk. So I'm going to headline there as well. And then I'm actually playing piano, believe it or not, for another artist as well. And his name's Nick Edwards. Now, he was on Britain's Got Talent quite a while ago, a couple of years ago. And he was actually sat in the audience. He didn't realise that he was going to be on stage that day. and his daughters came on and surprised their dad and said, "Look, my dad sings. Can my dad come up and sing a song for you?" And he didn't know anything about it. So when he went up on stage, he sang a song called "Daddy's Little Girl," and it went viral. So he's now making a bit of a scene in UK country, and he's asked me to be his keyboard player for a few upcoming gigs. One of which is in July, and it's an amazing festival. It's called the Together Again Festival at Ballsworth Castle. We've got UB40 playing there. It's all the big artists are on that, and we've been asked to play that as well. So things are moving in the right direction, I think. You know, I've been asking to play with other people along with doing my own things as well. So it's great.
So what's it like being an independent artist for you?
Yeah, I love it. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. It gives you a little bit of scope that you can do what you want. You can write music how you want. Nobody can kind of guide you or tell you to go in a specific direction. I quite like what we do, and we slowly now trying to fine tune our exact sound that we're going to be having for the future. And I think we've got that with this new single now, which I'm really kind of excited about. And it's been played on a few radio stations already, and the response has been great so far. So hopefully now we can really kind of start settling into the country music television scene in America as well, which we have featured on before with two of our other singles. So it's onwards and upwards from here, Ruben. I'm very excited. But let's hope that this new single does well on Friday. That's what I'm hoping for.
So finally, can you tell me, listeners, where can I find you on your social media?
Yeah, so all my social media is pretty much Preston D Barnes. That if you type in Preston D Barnes on Facebook and Instagram, it will instantly come up. And then the same on Twitter, or which is now X, and the same on TikTok as well. So all my social media is just Preston D Barnes, and my website is prestondbarnes.com. You really can't go wrong with it, really.
Thank you. Let me chat to you today.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me on, mate, and I wish you well, and I hope to see you in March.
Yep, you certainly will. So enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, matey. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.